SkyPi news, and Colorado yet again has made headlines with the most destructive wildfire ever. So, at least for Colorado. So, what was the last record, Amber? You were here when that was going on.
Yeah, so the last record was actually in 2013 here in Colorado Springs. It was the Black Forest Fire, and we had 550 homes burned then. We actually broke the record the year before in 2012 with the Waldo Canyon Fire, which is also in Colorado Springs, and I was a witness to both of those fires. So in 2012, we burned like 380 homes. In 2013, we beat the record and burned. Not that I say that with like we're excited about it, but we're not. It was horrific. 550 homes. And then fast forward to this week. You're showing Black Forest there.
There's Black Forest, and then Waldo Canyon. This one will be harder to see, but because vegetation.
All the brown there is all the burn scar.
Yeah.
So the Waldo Canyon fire was up in the mountains and burned for 3 days without much firefight, and then a dry thunderstorm sat over the fire and pushed the fire down the hill. Now, our experts say that fire doesn't want to burn downhill, but it was like a microburst almost of wind that pushed the fire down into the city, and we lost 350 homes.
Was that the current record then, too?
Yeah, that we beat the most destructive fire in 2012.
And then, of course, last year was
the largest
ever fire, right?
Yeah.
That was 2020?
Yeah. I don't remember how many acres that was. Well, of course, we're in 2022 now, so that was 2 years ago.
Well, I mean, it was like November, wasn't it?
Yeah, you're right. It was right before the first snowfall. So then Black Forest is it's more prairie land, but that area is full of trees. Everything else is prairie, so
that makes so much sense. Like, because both of these fires, all of these fires that we were talking about, happened with forested areas. However, this one that happened up here happened around Superior, and
it was between Boulder and Broomfield.
It's just all prairie up there. So it's just like, I remember seeing a headline earlier in the day. It's just like, oh, it's just another grass fire. You know, we get them. I mean, it's windy out today. You know, it's been pretty dry. And apparently over 1,000 homes burnt down over here. So just terribly sad for those communities up there. So anyway.
Yeah. Well, and we actually grew up kind of near a grassy field, and our mom in particular was always nervous about grass fires whipping up through that neighborhood. So it's always been in the back of my mind. Like, I would love to get more property out east here, but the grass fire potential has me hesitating on that a bit. Anyway, there's plenty more to talk about, so you're going to preface what we're going to talk about tonight.
Yeah, so we'll be jumping into that whole story in a second here. So, let's see. Then there were also a few more. December just couldn't quite just finish out the year without getting a few more tornadoes. So we'll be covering briefly a tornado outbreak again in Kentucky.
Hi. Did you go find those tornadoes, Pi?
Did I go find them? How am I going to go find those tornadoes? In Kentucky? Right.
Get personal footage of the tornadoes?
And so, I could have gotten personal footage of the fire up there, but it's just like, there's enough chasers out there that go out, like, Reed Timmer calls them vultures, and just to get footage, first light of all. And while I do appreciate their work, it does really help to tell the story of what happened out there. It's just not for me. Unless I actually am witnessing it happening, I don't want to document destruction like that after it's happened. So, although, Amber, you helped out during the fires from one of those fires.
Both fires.
What did you?
Yeah, both fires.
I'll come back to that. We this is supposed to be the introduction. And then there's
plenty to talk about.
And then there's been huge winter storm that's been impacting the country the last few days. I think I've got like 4 different pile-ups that have showed up in my Facebook feed that I'll show you. And then, Amber, there's been some crazy news from the Philippines that you found for us. Go ahead.
Yeah, I spent some time in the Philippines, so when I hear a big hurricane is ripped through, uh, back in 2013, they had hurricane or typhoon, sorry, Haiyan, which still, I mean, the Weather Channel still does storm stories from Haiyan, a high category 5 typhoon, and this one is comparable, 150-mile-an-hour winds, I think. But we'll talk about that in more detail.
Mm-hmm.
And in case you don't know where the Philippines are, look it up on a map. It's kind of cool. I didn't know where it was before I went either, but it's a long, long ways away from here.
Oh yeah, totally. It's tough to cover news from that side of the country. So, but
Or the
we've got some articles to jump into, and then there was also a bomb cyclone in the North Atlantic. So,
yeah, news to me. I didn't hear about that.
Anywho, so anyway, let's go ahead and start with your story, Amber. With that, I teased a little bit. What did you do for the fires, or which fire was it that you went and helped out with?
Both of them,
Both.
fires. Plus, I helped with some flooding mitigation too. Well, let's talk about the 2013 floods up in Boulder. Speaking of Boulder, Boulder Longmont area had a horrific flood in 2013. So I helped both in that year was the Black Forest fire. So I started out July by helping sift through ash of people's homes through a group called Samaritan's Purse, which comes into the community, and it was pretty cool. They said typically they take volunteers from other states to help them out. After a big disaster, they come in and just help the citizens who have been affected by the fires in this case. And they typically work with uninsured people, especially in the floods. But so in 2012, in the Waldo Canyon fire, they actually had us wear these huge, like, painter suits. They had to zip up, and I remember it being like 100 degrees. Even in Colorado, it can get to 100 degrees. And we had the full masks. This is before COVID.
Gee, I bet you would have been fine sifting through ashes with all the snow on the ground.
This time?
Yeah.
No. There was a fire one day and snow the next for this fire up in Superior. But yeah, so we were crazy hot, and we were just kind of sifting through with big sieves, just trying to find anything that survived the fire. And it was kind of amazing. Like, sometimes, like, different floors of your house would fall on the floor below it, and it would actually protect stuff down underneath. So we would find books with unburned pages and ceramic pieces. I think I found like a big lump of melted gold. Like, you could instantly tell that it was a precious metal. It wasn't just typical aluminum. You could tell the difference between aluminum and then at one point we found someone's grandmother's engagement ring that had been passed down generations. We were just able to find it in the sifting. So, 2 different years of sifting through ash. For Black Forest fire in 2013, we didn't have to wear the big painter suits, but I just got covered with ash from head to toe. I've shown some pictures there. So, those are some of the pictures I took. Looks like you got on my page
2012,
there.
Yeah.
And just hearing the stories of people, like, that fire was similar to this year's Marshall fire, where in both fires 2 people didn't get out in time, and it's just mind-boggling to me. How do you not get out? What are you trying to grab? Like, but the fire raced down the mountains there.
Like, at least, like, the Waldo Canyon people, they've heard of the fire before it destroyed their house. These people had, like, no time, and we'll be diving into that in a second.
Yeah, well, so Waldo, they were evacuated for like 3 days, and the fire was burning due north, away from the houses. So they actually told the people, you can go back to your house today and get more things at noon. And then they let people sit at the barricades, and they said, never mind, we're concerned. You can't go back after all. And the fire raced down the mountain within hours of them almost letting people back in their homes. So, yeah, I was watching that live from work. We had a great view of the fire just jumping itself down the hillside.
Right.
Yeah, like, you don't expect to go to work. Like this year, the Marshall fire, you go to work, it's a normal day. I read one story of a young adult who was at work that day, and her dogs were home in a kennel, and she heard of the fire and she eventually got off work and tried to get home, but all the roads were blocked by then. And it was a rental house, and she just couldn't make it there in time until her landlord called and said the house was gone. Just horrific. Like you don't expect that to be how your day goes.
Yeah, that would just be awful. I'm like, this is why like I just bought a 12 terabyte hard drive to back up some of my data, because I've had some storm chasing footage that hasn't had a backup. It's been on a RAID on my NAS, so at least it's protected from any one hard drive failure, but not from a fire. So I need to get this hard drive off sites. I would hate to lose all this stuff, and this isn't even all of it. There's another one like 5 terabyte here. I might have to build a whole nother NAS just to house my backups. So anywho, let's dive into some of the footage we have here. So here's a radar loop from the Denver radar, and so over here, these are all the mountains and stuff, and it was windy today, so I believe this was the same. Yep, there's the
This was the 30th.
Mm-hmm.
December 30th.
Yeah, so this was the same low pressure system that kicked up all this wind that caused the tornado outbreaks that we'll be talking about later on. And so it's just like there's just nothing there, and then it's just and then the smoke just goes all the way past beyond the radar range over there. So I also have a radar loop here as well of it where we can zoom in a little bit. We've got some wind reports, 75 miles an hour, 80, 95 down here. And so here we got a little blip, and then it just explodes a little bit more. So, but what was the record? What was the record that you heard up there? It was just south of Superior.
115 mile per hour wind gusts.
Nuts! And
I think from the Broomfield police, they actually issued a warning right before this saying 150 mile an hour wind gusts. Please be wise with burning at this time or something right before the fire started. Yeah. We had, 101 mile an hour wind gust here several weeks ago for our December 16th windstorm, and that just took down trees all over the city. But 115, that's another 10 mile per hour wind. It's scary stuff. Like, there's nothing to stop that fire once it starts going.
Yeah, so let's go to some of the videos and stuff. So this is probably the most heart-wrenching video here that was posted on Twitter by Jason Fletcher here. So he was in a Chuck E. Cheese as all of this was going down. It just got really smoky outside all of a sudden.
I assume some kind of announcement went that they needed to evacuate. This guy's like, is it true? And looked out the window to see those flames.
So all of these families here, they're just going for like a day, nice fun day, and they're all having to evacuate. Let's see.
Yeah, especially moms of little kids. You know they are panicking at this moment.
They're like trying to
This
push
mom's
open the
like,
door here.
Yeah, she's like, I can't open the door.
Yep, I'd say that is the wind.
Just pure chaos.
It's
So scary.
Good day to be wearing a mask.
Well, and yeah, you can't get that from the video. Just that smell is so choking. Like the smoke is so choking. You just don't know it until you experience it. Those poor kids probably have nightmares every night now. Look at that. You can't see cars like 10 cars down.
Smoke right there. Right.
Yeah, so let's see. Yeah, we'll try to find that location of that particular Chuck E. Cheese in a second here. So this one is from the Broomfield Police Department as they're driving up to as the fires well in progress.
Coming our way. Well, this takes us back to
I don't think so.
And you can see some burning houses in there behind those trees.
Holy cow.
That's crazy. This place is burning over here.
Yeah, you know, when the police are saying "Holy cow!" Like this is probably a first for them.
Downtown Superior. What? Oh, I think that's a hotel that's burning there.
We think that's the hotel. I wondered if it was an apartment complex.
Yeah, because there's the main. I think there's the main highway to Boulder up there. So
okay,
I'm pretty sure that's what next to a Tesla factory. We'll verify that later in a bit. By the way, in other news, my moderator Cole Tilley wants to talk about the you can apparently get Digital Taco Plus, or you can get a free taco. I sent him that article earlier today, and anywho, anyway, sorry for that tangent. Let's see, and then this video is from a hospital, the Ava Vista Hospital over here on Vimeo. Actually, let me post that last video in the chat in case any of you guys want to look at it for yourselves. And there we go. So there's that one.
I heard the hospital was okay, but obviously they had quite the view, but they had to evacuate everybody, and that was quite a process too. So look at that.
That neighbor. You know, normally when you see a fire, you can't see like actual structures ablaze because you can't normally get that close. But since this isn't like in a forested area, like people were just able to get video from everywhere here. That was very sad here. You also shared with me, I was hoping this had other clips that were online as well. Oh yeah, here we go. They uploaded it as separate videos on Vimeo here.
As you can see here, this is our liquid oxygen tank. And the fire's out within feet of this. First of all, our facilities team did a tremendous job.
That's freaky.
Fighting this fire.
They actually fought it?
And hoses. We had to evacuate. This is our med surge unit right here. We had to evacuate our patients away from the med surge and move them downstairs on the opposite side of the building.
Yeah, so that's freaky. So close to
liquid oxygen.
I mean, I guess it's way easier to fight a mowed grass fire than it is to fight like a tree fire, but I don't know.
Well, it's probably because their lawn is short there. Had it been a long, tall grass, they might not have been. It sounded like they fought it with garden hoses, so I think they were only able to do that because it was a short, well-groomed lawn.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, how big of an explosion would that have been?
Oh, well, I mean, they were hearing pops. I was seeing news reports of like pops all the time from different fires, from different houses being on fire and whatnot.
With the Black Forest fire here, it's kind of, the properties are more remote, so people had big propane tanks in their lawn to heat their houses, so those would explode randomly. I'm pretty sure, I had no video evidence of this, but I was watching the Black Forest fire in 2013 from the parking lot of my work, and it was a big, like, pyro, what do they call that? Pyrocumulus cloud, and there must have been some kind of propane tank that exploded because a fireball went straight up that cloud plume, and I was like, did I just see that? And I was asking someone next to me, did you see that? They're like, no. So it's one of those things that you think you saw, like, this fireball go 10,000 feet in the air, but nobody was there to witness it with you. So you're like, did I dream it up? But is this the beginning of the fire?
So this is, I've got a whole timeline here pulled up from the Broomfield Police Department. So the fire didn't actually hit Broomfield. They are like just southeast of it, but they've got a great timeline on their Facebook page here. So because Broomfield is way bigger. Yeah, Broomfield's down here, but up here is Superior. So anyway, go ahead and start reading that timeline I have there in the doc, Amber, as I follow along.
So these sound like they are 911 calls, or at least dispatcher.
This is all on, these are Facebook posts. These are Facebook posts, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So this is with times here. So this all started on December 30th. We had crazy winds here in Colorado Springs that day, but 12:26 p.m., smoke plume is visible in Broomfield, which is, like Pi said, southeast, to multiple grass fires in Boulder County. They originally reported 2 grass fires. One, they got out right away, and the other one became the big fire.
Oh, interesting.
Also can smell smoke. No active fire in Broomfield at this time. So they're just kind of figuring out, where is this? Please only call 911 if you see flames. We are overwhelmed with calls about smoke. Thank you. And yeah, here in Colorado Springs, they did the same thing. Please do not call in. We know there's a fire. 15 minutes later, 12:45, due to the amount of road closures and officers being used to assist, we are now on accident alert. That's a common term here in Colorado where it says, unless you're injured, if you got an offender bender, do not call us. Go online and report it. If you see someone drinking, you can report that. Anyway, accident alert. We need everybody to help with the fire. At 1:10 p.m., Boulder County Emergency Office of Emergency Management has just announced an evacuation order for all of Superior. That's freaky. Like your entire town is under evacuation. Evacuation point is the South Boulder Recreation Center. The Superior Community Center is not an official evacuation location, meaning get out of the community center too. 10 minutes later, 1:20, US 36 is not closed at this time in Broomfield. Residents of Superior can still evacuate using Table Mesa. All lanes of westbound remain closed, meaning going back towards the fire at Interlochen exit. 20 minutes later, due to the fires in Boulder County, the Boulder County Sheriff has asked us to close all lanes of westbound 36.
Wow.
Usually they do that so traffic can take up both lanes coming out away from the fire. Traffic is being rerouted at Interlochen exit. Doesn't sound like they reverse traffic here, but 1:45 p.m. Broomfield residents do not need to evacuate. We also are not on pre-evacuation at this time.
It wasn't far from Broomfield.
West. Yeah. We have opened the Emergency Operations Center and are watching the situation closely. If you haven't registered with Code Red, this is a good time to do so.
Code Red, I guess that must be a way to update things.
Yeah. It's also your911.net. So you guys should check out your local emergency hotlines to see how you can get evacuation calls and stuff in your area.
Yeah, maybe we should do that.
At 2:15 p.m. I did it this week. I found a cool app. Updated 2:17 p.m. The Flatirons Mall, if I'm pronouncing that right, is closing to ease traffic in the area and allow emergency response teams and vehicles to stage in the parking lot. That's what's scary. You're like, oh, they're taking over our parking lot. Maybe we should go.
Flatirons Mall.
Threatening the mall.
Flatirons Mall. That's where I bought your old Galaxy S6 from like 4 or 5 years ago. And
I can't believe you drove that far. That's like 2.5 hours.
It was a good deal. Well, that and it was Christmas Eve, and I needed a present for you. So.
Oh, maybe it's an hour.
Yeah, so I'm not terribly unfamiliar with this area because this was pretty close to it. So here's the mall, and here's how close the fire got to it. And then I also bought my camera here, this one up here in Boulder. So I mean, I've driven that highway, so whatever. I mean, not that means much.
Yeah, 36 is a great highway up towards Estes Park. We drove that highway to film a wedding recently.
Yeah.
All right. At 2:53 p.m., due to the grass fires, pre-evacuation orders are now in place for the Flatirons apartments, which sounds like it's getting closer to the mall.
Yeah,
and then
so
they list out a bunch of
just
apartments
north of the mall there. So it looks like. Did it get? No, they were this big. It was really close for them.
This is what they tell you to grab. Gather essentials like prescriptions, medical supplies, pet supplies, important papers, and alert your neighbors. That's what they tell you to do. 3:34 p.m. So, Pi, you and I still were unaware, right? We had family in town.
Yeah, I was rebuilding my NAS, like.
I don't remember. Mom and I were probably out shopping. We love thrifting.
There's a photo.
And I don't think I saw any news till about 5 p.m. that night.
I saw that there was a grass fire like earlier in the day, and I'm just like, whatever. Like, because I've never heard of a grass fire being so destructive before. I guess that's what 100-mile-an-hour winds will do for it.
3:38 p.m. We opened a shelter at First Bank Center on Broomfield Lane in Broomfield, so they're now moving people down to Broomfield. Residents who've evacuated Louisville, Boulder, Superior, etc. may head that way. Okay, I'm sorry. I've lived in Colorado 14 years,
Mhm.
and I didn't know we had a Louisville, Colorado. Learned something.
There's a lot
new
of
every
towns
day.
up in Denver.
4:49 p.m. Some Broomfield residents are showing up at First Bank with an alert on their phones saying they are under a mandatory evacuation order at the bank. At this time, we believe the alert spilled over from the neighboring city county. There is no mandatory evacuation for Broomfield. At
that would
5:15,
freak me out.
talk about confusion.
Look at this
Yeah.
photo here. This is from
Gotta
the
go back to your screen.
this-
That looks like Black Forest Fire to
Boulder
me.
County, Colorado. Like, ugh.
When you see that, you're like, they're not getting that out today, and homes are burning when it's black like that. I've seen it too many times. Just sad. 5:15, it's about the time we started paying attention. A mandatory evacuation is now in place for everyone south of 36, west of Wadsworth. This includes the Interlochen area. If you live in that area immediately, there is no threat to your safety. If you live in that area, leave immediately. There is no threat to your safety. If you need help, call 911 immediately. A mandatory evacuation is now in place for everyone. It's duplicated there.
Sorry.
Later that night, I finished out by like at 10 o'clock at night. They said they were evacuating the detention center, so they had to move inmates.
Oh.
Like that was the last evacuation order that I saw that evening, but it continued all night. So we finally turned on the news about 5 or 6 o'clock that
Yeah, after
evening
the sun
because
went down.
I came down the stairs and I was like, "Pi, have you heard about this grass fire?" He's like, yeah, I've heard about it. It was earlier today. I was like, they're saying over 500. They were already saying 500 structures had burned at 5 p.m. And it started at noon.
Mm-hmm.
That's like 100 houses an hour that burned down. It's just mind-boggling.
Yeah, so here's some more videos and stuff. This was also from the Broomfield Police Department here. And just them driving down these those houses.
Oh, you're not. You got to share.
Okay. And let me let it loop over again. And okay, here it is. Let me move us.
Oh, yes. Boy, I've seen this before, and it's just freaky.
Mm-hmm. Man, those poor houses.
And that heat, like the sheer heat of that. They say those houses burn, it's 2,600 degrees. Something like when we were sifting through homes, like the metal beams in your house, they can bend under the heat of that. And that's how they determine how hot these houses burn.
And
That's a nightmare.
so I've got some other photos here. So I meant to save Ghost 16, but here's an image of the fire. This looks like not too long after it started. And you can just see all the snow up here. And
So sad, because they got snow the next day. It just was too.
here's the fire just after the sunset. You can see it over here. So the mall, I think the mall that I've been to. Oh yeah, here's the mall right there that I've personally been to. And
This was an airplane shot. Maybe you said that. Our brother was actually flying in that night. We're like, "Did you see the fire? Could you see it?" And it turns out he was on the other side of the plane.
of course, yeah.
But
he totally would have too.
There was a clip like that, and the stewardess was just, "Please put your chair in an upright position."
This-
like there's nothing.
This
happening
one
out
is
the window.
from Andy Thorne. You can see some of the planes off in the distance. He was taking some photos from the foothills there. And
Oh,
yeah.
freaky. It's like, is he up in a plane?
Here's a freaky one from the Good Samaritan Hospital here on Twitter. So, and
Yeah, you can't sleep when there's a glow like that out your window. You just don't sleep that night.
I believe this is the guy who reposted this. He says he had talked to Wendy Cardona, and he spoke to who took the photo, sharing Thursday night. Wendy says she dabbles in photography, but took this photo on her Pixel 5. But that's a little freaky. They're like, do we have to evacuate everyone from there? And
Yeah. I was 5 miles due east of the Waldo Canyon fire, and it was burning east. I was 5 miles away, and I was starting to panic. What would I take?
Here's another video of the fire up there. So once he zooms out, and here's the mall for reference. And so that's how
Looks
close
so
it got to it.
calm. Just like a little fire pit of cinders.
Well, I mean, the wind had calmed down at this point, so. And that's a whole neighborhood there. This is a whole neighborhood. That's a whole neighborhood. So.
Mark Kaiser says I was over the Marshall Fire because I had to fly into Denver that day.
So did you see it then? Who was it that said it?
Mark Kaiser.
Mark Kaiser. Yeah, Mark, did you see it at all?
He was flying into Boulder.
Mm-hmm.
So thankfully Boulder was not really they have first said it was a fire in Boulder, but it was really southeast.
Another area of
Boulder.
So this was like one of those hot spots, this whole neighborhood, just everything just flattened. And Jennifer
Colorado
here's another one from
tends
that
to
evening.
Colorado tends to build their houses really close together too, so
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
once one house starts, just
Wix Chasing uploaded some photos of it as well. Man, that's
so sad.
And it's like not one in like wait, never mind. There is one right there that survived. Maybe because they had such a big yard around it. I don't know. I can see some of the burnt grass.
when we were sifting through the ash here at our two fires, we actually got to talk to some of the firefighters, and they said if there was any kind of mulch around the house, or especially junipers or like prickly cedars, they have their own oil, and it's very combustible. So if fire ended up in a juniper next to a house, they just said we can't save it, and they would move on to a house that had nothing on fire yet, and they could save that one house. Mm-hmm. So I had junipers in my yard when I first moved in, and I was hand cutting, sawing down my junipers in the smoke of the Waldo Canyon fire. I was that freaked out about it. Like, I gotta cut these down. It was like 30 feet of junipers. And the same with, I had a prickly cedar right up against the front of my house, which I think the previous owners put there for security because people can't get in your windows then. But same thing, that thing would have one little match in that. So they really assess, like, if the house is already on fire, we can't save it. We gotta make a fire line and pick the houses that are okay.
And this was the next night after the fire here from Dylan Thomas.
We got like a foot of snow, didn't they? 6 to 12 inches.
The next day. At least the fire was out, I guess.
Well, this was coming in, and that's why the winds were so bad that day. This was the back end of the front, right?
Maybe. So then this would have been the morning after it snowed. This is
and that,
from
yeah, you can't sift through ash. And that, brr, it's just cold.
Yes.
It's like Hurricane Sandy. The hurricane hits, and then it turns to snow at the end of it. It's just brutal.
Yeah. So there were reports coming out that it was down power lines that started the fire, but then that was said it wasn't the case over here. But this map here from the Boulder Emergency Operations Center says that this is where they think the fire started. So at this little intersection, I guess we can take a look at Google Earth and just see what we have over there. Let's see, it was at that intersection. So yeah,
it's kind of obvious. Like, it starts at a very pinpoint.
So right here where some hiking trails start, and let me turn off the roads. They're kind of weird, glitched out. So, but then there's these other buildings here that could have started. So who knows? It could have been a car just scraping its load against the road, making some sparks, or it could be
cigarette butt out the window.
So can you imagine the person that caused this, what they must be feeling right now? Or, I mean, they may not know. I mean, but Yeah, it doesn't look like there's any power lines or anything around here. A little gazebo, maybe.
Yeah, that was
an outhouse.
that was interesting. They said for the first 2 days that they suspected down power lines, and yeah, it's like the first easiest thing to blame or something. But I have a friend who actually works for the power company. She's out of Wisconsin, and she was saying, "Boy, I haven't heard of outages yet. We should be shutting down power there in the Boulder area. Let me check." And then she came back on my wall, and she's like, "Oh, yep, I'm seeing the emails now. They're starting to shut down the energy power lines to the area." So again, like you blame somebody, like the energy company, and they're suddenly in the hot seat. So they were in the hot seat for 2 days, and now they're like, we have absolutely no proof that a new power line started this fire. After that,
perfect rows.
Now you're down. Well, those are the houses.
This,
Like, are you down at the shopping center?
so I think this was the Target there. Is that a Target?
Yeah.
Because there was a Costco. The Target was just damaged, apparently. Looks like Costco is
and then Costco is spared.
Oh wait,
but
no, Costco
there's
is
other
also
videos.
damaged. So
There's other videos of people evacuating Costco, and then Chuck E. Cheese is right across this parking lot.
is this it? Or
There.
which one's Chuck E. Cheese? I gotta look it up. Chuck E. Cheese's. Oh, nope. Don't need to zoom way out. There's Chuck E. Cheese. So this is where they saw it. So they saw there was fire right outside a window. So I think that was in the back. So I think the back must have been on fire. So then the fire must have gone all the way around or burned along the highway here. So, and there's a Verizon store here, isn't there? Verizon. No. Yeah,
Well,
this Verizon store.
If Target was on fire, like any of that debris could land on the grass and keep starting new fires.
I still have this Verizon store stored in my phone because this is where I was gonna meet the person to buy your S6 from all that time ago. So
that was a while ago, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm no longer on an S6.
Okay, yeah, I know it was like 4 years ago, and it was it was well used too. Okay, but there's not a damage indicator for the Verizon store, but all of those houses burnt. Man, it's just one right after the other. It looks like they were able to save them. A lot of these houses here, although this might be an ongoing survey as well here. Then also down here as well, just these houses. I wish there was some aerial photos. I wasn't able to find any. There's that mall I went to.
So what's this site you're using? Boulder County.
This is the Marshall Fire Damage Assessment. So, yeah, I guess here, let me post this link in case any of you guys want to take a look at it for yourself. So,
yeah, I don't think they had anything that sophisticated with Waldo, but maybe I wasn't, or with the Black Forest Fire. But
I mean, this
isn't
like super hard to do a survey. You basically take one photo and you're like, well, that one's burned, that one's burned, that one's burned. Oh, that one's still standing. We'll put a yellow one there. And
Insta satellites.
Yeah, look at how dense this row of houses is. Damage. Even some like burned out this far out, and even some all the way up here. So does that mean that embers flew all the way over here? Because I mean, grass fires are usually when there's a grass fire, you can very easily see what's burned and what hasn't. So,
well, we have an uncle who had this exact thing happen to him. So there was a wildfire in California that was a mile away from our uncle's cabin up in the San Bernardino Mountains. And one flying cinder landed on his roof. Nobody else is in the neighborhood. And it burned his 4-bedroom cabin to the ground. And it started burning along like the pine needles and started burning their neighbor's house. But someone was there and was able to get the fire out on the neighbor's house. But Uncle Richard's house was the only one to burn in their entire neighborhood because of a flying cinder. So, yeah, that's why you see little individual things pop up. Same with in the Waldo Canyon fire, it jumped a reservoir that was a mile wide. Just a fire started on the other side of the water.
That's crazy. So there's one last thing that I want to take a look at here, and this is more of the damage assessment from the Boulder Office of Emergency Management. So if you can go ahead and read that assessment that they have here, I'll follow along with you.
Joint damage assessment effort led by the Boulder Office of Disaster Management has followed the Marshall Fire over the last several days. Building officials, inspectors, Boulder County assessor, and staff from all over the Front Range metro areas united in an unprecedented effort to conduct detailed inspections on all damage and debris in the fire area. Boulder County, the city of Louisville, the town of Superior are greatly appreciative of the incredible support. I think Colorado Springs sent a bunch of firefighters up there to help them with the effort too. As a result, Boulder County, city of Louisville, and town of Superior have updated a list of impacted residential and commercial properties. Now, the hardest thing about this is after your home burns, you don't usually find out for 2 to 3 days if your house is gone or not. So you just have to wait and go to town meetings to hear. Along with the updated property list is a searchable map of the properties in the fire perimeter. Updated numbers of destroyed or damaged structures on January 6th, which is today. In the city of Louisville, 550 structures destroyed, 43 structures damaged. Actual value of residential damage in just Louisville alone is $229 million. I almost said thousand, but the commas kept going. In the town of Superior, 378 structures destroyed. Now that's comparable to Waldo Canyon here in Colorado Springs. Yeah. And Louisville's comparable to Black Forest. 58 structures damaged. The actual residential value of the damage is $152 million. Unincorporated Boulder County had an additional 156 structures destroyed. 48 damaged at $131 million. Updated total confirmed to date countywide are 1,084 residential structures destroyed, 149 residential structures damaged. Total countywide.
How many was Black Forest again?
Just in the 500s.
So this is double.
Yeah.
Or at least nearly.
Total estimated damage at $513 million, 212,589.
So $500 million.
So that's today's.
Mm-hmm. So that's what
commercial structures. So yeah, I was wondering about commercial. So like stores and stuff in Louisville, they had 4 structures destroyed, 14 damaged. In Superior, 3 destroyed, 14 damaged.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2 more. So that could be, we heard an apartment complex burned, a hotel burned. Target was the first one that they said was, I'm surprised they're just saying damaged because they originally said it was gone from the first update, but like those are lower numbers, but that's like a Costco that's damaged. I mean, that's a huge building.
Yeah, that's a huge building. So, very, very sad. It's something that I did not expect at the end of December, but my goodness, have we been going on in a long drought. Like that snowstorm that we've had is like the first snow, like the first, we've only had like a dusting or 2 of snow up until this point, and there's just been like nothing else. So, anywho,
and why is that, Pi? Why? It's an unusual phenomenon this year that.
Oh man, I think it's because of the double La Nina. I don't know if that's what would cause the. I mean, that's what's causing the low pressure systems to come through, but.
Right. So our local weatherman just said. Yeah, La Nina years for us in Colorado. So typically up north, Montana, the Dakotas, they get blasted in a La Nina year, and we stay drier down here in Colorado. But he said the jet streams also squeeze, and we'll have to look this up on a map sometime, squeeze way harder, I think of the terms he used. Mm-hmm. And so the winds are stronger in a La Nina year. So it's almost kind of interesting, like we should... start doing like Christmases in Montana, knowing in a La Nina year, because we'll have a white Christmas. And then if we want a warmer Christmas, we do La Nina Christmas down here in Colorado. So, but unfortunately, it affects things like wildfires too. So.
Yeah. So this, fortunately, I did not get any Ghost 16. downloaded, but we've been going for almost an hour here already. But this also caused a tornado, a small tornado outbreak again in Kentucky. So load. Are you gonna load for me? Nope. You're just not.
It can do it. It can do it.
Well, loading. I was gonna show tornado. There they are. There's the tornado reports. So they just got hit again, and it looks like almost a similar path here. So
Gotta show us though there. We're not seeing your screen.
oh right. Anywho, hey, yeah, there we go.
There you go.
Right below you. There. So there's the tornado report. So the year or is this on, what day is this? This is the 1st. Okay, so this was just right after. There were a few tornadoes the day before. But, so we've got radar here of the most significant tornado. We'll just go through this pretty quickly here. So we were looking at this radar very closely because last time, because Clarksville down here, or yeah, a tornado went through, I'm trying to get my bearings. I think it went through, yeah, because there's like an Air Force base, some kind of military base or something right here. And so this is where that gal got like the creepy picture of like the tornado silhouetted. But up here in Hopkinsville, they probably thought that they would be safe, but here comes a little twister. And it wasn't even warned? There's no warning on here.
Yeah, I actually saw that on a post that someone was saying, we had a tornado and no warnings.
There's one. East it went warned, but oh wow, I did not know that it wasn't warned. So here's the first tornado report. When does that pop up? So during this first that storm is wimpy. What the? Major roof damage.
Do you have rotation on it?
Let's take a look at it. Not really. There's so much noise. Let me go up in, I guess maybe right there?
Yeah, you can see how it would be missed. Oh, maybe right there?
Wow. Yeah, that's it. Just like, but no wonder they didn't warn it, because maybe it was, I don't know what the deal was.
So it happened in one frame.
It was a very
in the winter,
quick
we've noticed satellite doesn't update as often in the wintertime, so maybe it's just...
radar doesn't.
Radar. Like it's 5 minutes instead of every 2 minutes.
Yeah. Many trees uprooted and several snapped, roof and small part of a wall removed. Okay, we can actually look at this from the survey on here. So, Amber, if you would like to read that bit there. So.
Tornadoes. Mm-hmm. Okay, sorry, people.
Tornadoes.
The front warm... On New Year... Oh, it was New Year's Day. The warm front lifted northward along the Kentucky-Tennessee border New Year's Eve into the morning hours on New Year's Day. South of the warm front, an unstable environment was in place before a cold front swept through the region from the northwest. This caused thunderstorms to develop across our southern counties in West Kentucky overnight and into the morning. A couple of tornadoes occurred in our far southeast counties, including an EF2 that struck the downtown area of Hopkinsville, Kentucky. Didn't you just say one of your friends was just driving through Hopkinsville the day before?
I'm sure he did, because it's like on the way. Well, there is a major there's an interstate that goes south of there, so that's what he would have taken.
He drove through New Year's Eve, and this was New Year's Day at 9 a.m.
And then he spent the night in Clarksville.
A major roof damage. There was major roof damage to a church, part of it removed, many trees uprooted, and several snapped. Numerous large branches down, roof and small part of a wall removed from a brick home, and several businesses with minor to moderate roof damage. A few major. A gas station canopy destroyed along with gas pumps. Oh, you would think that'd be messy. And a few businesses with glass and entryway damage. So, yeah, they really look at brick homes, don't they, to help determine how bad the tornado was. Like, a lighter tornado is not likely to do much to a brick home, but if a brick home is destroyed, that says a lot.
Yeah. So that was crazy that this thing just came out of nowhere and people didn't even have a warning. That's pretty rare. The National Weather Service is usually just on top of it, giving warnings out here and there. They were under a tornado watch.
Yeah, I was gonna say they were under a watch, and I kept asking Pi, tornadoes tonight? No, there's not gonna be any tornadoes tonight. No, you went to a party instead of watching we watched.
This
for a
was
little
at
while,
9 a.m. the next morning.
Oh. Well, there still were some reports New Year's Eve, weren't there?
Yes, there were,
Whatever.
but this is the one that actually hit that did the most damage here. So, yeah,
Stand corrected.
gas station canopy was destroyed along with gas pumps and a few businesses. Let's see if I can find that gas station. Back to Google Earth. Gas station. Let's see. Right here. This looks like a gas station. Ugh. Come on! Weather service, rotate your photos. There is a way in OBS that I could rotate them, but I'll have to figure that out for another time. Anywho, so, and also this, we're running a little short on time here, so I'm just going to quickly run through these, but there's been crazy amounts of winter storms. Okay, maybe I can at least pull up the latest Goes 16 here to show you guys.
I'm laughing at you turning your head to see those pictures.
Sure. So, do we have snow bands? I think those might... Yeah, I think these are the snow bands that are going through and wreaking havoc all across the nation. So...
Right now?
Yeah, as of like today. So, my Facebook feed has just been filling up with different pileups. Here's one from Timothy Hudson. He says I-64 from Winchester to Mount Sterling, and so that just looks nasty. Make sure, keep some blankets in your car, people, and have a full gas tank this time of year.
Just stay home. Just stay home.
This one's on I-55 in Missouri.
Unlike Pi, who has to go out in it to experience it. Just stay home.
Look at that! Oh, that semi's jackknifed nuts.
Yeah, of course. If you're a truck driver, we thank you for your services because this is not a fun job at all. Yes, and it just looks foggy too.
This one, Hutchinson River Parkway, in this morning in New York, posted in storm.
It looks like a parking lot.
They got freezing rain there.
Why is that car smashed? Is it an interstate?
I don't know. I think this may have been a repost. So I found this in the Storm Junkies group too. So, and even one of our favorite podcasts, they weren't able to upload today because their roads are messy.
They have more snow than us in Colorado. We got like a slight dusting, enough to like put a smiley face in your windshield. That's about how much snow we got last night.
Move you down so you guys can see.
That's in Nashville.
Yeah, like, Nashville.
So. Nashville has a hard time with snow too. So
it's just been everywhere that places. And then this is the craziest video here. Take a look at this. This is from Susan Chen. And she says, "What terrible weather. Do not go out if you have to." So listen to this.
Whoa, yo, whoa. Whoa.
He looked like he was stopped. Why was he moving? I've not seen this either. Why are they moving sideways? They look like they're stopped.
I'm guessing. Let's watch that one more time here.
Whoa, yo, whoa. Whoa.
And you think you're on the shoulder so you're safe. If the grass is flat like that, keep driving on the grass.
Yeah. So I think what happened here is this highway or interstate is tilted. So when people came to a stop, they just slid off of it. And then that kept the road clear, so cars kept going, and instead of smashing into them like in a normal pileup, they just came to a slow stop and then just slid off. Woo-wee.
I was trying to show me that the other day, and I was too busy to stop and watch. That is the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, so this was apparently in New Hampshire, but With
So I take it all the little cars on the shoulder had already slid there.
yeah, I'm sure they had already slid there.
It's like, just drive off on the grass, people. You get good traction on that grass.
Oh man!
Like, get stuck
But
in
well,
the
I mean,
mud.
typically when you get situations like this, it just becomes ice instantly, and so doesn't look like cars were terribly smashed. So at least visibility remained pretty high, and there was, and it wasn't over a bridge or anything. So, but still, the weather was probably just good enough. I didn't have time to look into them because there was like what 4 pileups. That's just like, oh goodness.
Yeah, several people did have to spend the night in the car overnight, which, by the way, does not happen in Colorado. If you get stuck in your car, at least here in Colorado Springs, this is my little tangent, they come and knock on your window, and they're like, sorry, you have to evacuate your car right now.
Yeah,
And
get out.
Pi, you were like,
Whoops.
oh, you have low battery, Pi. Exchange battery.
No!
Love that. I'll keep telling my story while you correct yourself. Anyway, if you are stuck on the if you're stuck on the road and they knock on your window and say, you have to leave right now, and you're like, no, I want to stay with my car, and they say, no, you cannot stay with your car is now blocking the plows from getting through, you must evacuate your car now. And so they usually put you in a police car or something. They take you home, they take you to a shelter, and then the next day your little car gets towed, and the only way to get your car is to pay a $380 tow fee from the impound lot. So they don't let you stay in your car all night, kind of like on, was it I-90 near Washington, where people spent the night in their cars, because I've always had this perspective of, well, I'll just have my safety kit in my car and I'll wait there till the morning when
I have a bed in my car.
drive out. Yeah, you have a bed. But they wouldn't let you stay in your car, Pi. You'd
Well,
have
I don't
to
think I'd want
pay,
to. I've slept
You'd have
in
to pay
there in like 30-degree weather. It's not fun.
You'd have to pay $400 the next day to get your car out of the impound lot. Like, that's enough to be like, I'm going to stay home for the next bomb cyclone or the next blizzard.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to go out and experience it like somebody else I know. This way.
Anyway, speaking of bomb cyclones, there was one that was over here in the North Atlantic that just took place. So we've got this. I don't like how this is set up here, but it's up here, so I'm not too much in the way. But yeah, here it is. Whee! Just chilling up there. There's barely any sunlight up there this time of year, so I decided to use the infrared to show it to you guys. But yeah, let's speed it up a little bit. Just swirling around up there, and there's like one quick little video of how windy it was over in Iceland. So that is 100-mile-an-hour winds right there, 107 mile an hour.
Oh.
So 48 meters per second as well. And another low pressure system news. Our last story of the day is this typhoon. What do they call them? Super typhoons or something?
Super typhoons instead of Category 5 hurricanes. They're called super typhoons. Real quick, in case you're wondering what a bomb cyclone is, it's a storm that essentially intensifies like a hurricane, but in the winter, really fast, and it has to drop. Do you know, Pi? How many millibars does it have to drop in 24 hours?
I don't know.
And after
10?
this, you'll remember forever.
50?
It's 24 millibars
24, okay.
in 24 hours. So we should be able to remember that,
That's
right?
the
24 and
definition?
20. Yeah.
Really?
I don't know why I didn't. Triggering a sudden drop in the barometric pressure. So when the bomb cyclone went over us here, I had fun watching my barometer go. It's really fun. Anyway, super typhoon. Yeah, so Kaiser on our chat asked why I was in the Philippines it was an missions trip. And yeah, actually it was part of my college degree. I had to do a trip and learn about language, culture, but my major was in world missions. So I was in the Philippines for 2 months learning all about the islands of the Philippines, and it looks so tiny on that map you have there, Pi, but the top island would be like in Maine in the United States, and the bottom island would be the tip of Florida. That's
Whoa,
how
it's
far
really
they
that
expand.
big, really?
Yeah, it's hard to comprehend that. And for those of you who are on here watching from New Zealand and Australia, you obviously are right, kind of close to them as neighbors.
This is
So,
Philippines?
I'm
Yeah.
sure. Yep, that's the Philippines. There's over 7,000 islands there. But this super typhoon went smack in the middle of it, and I was actually on the island of Samar, kind of near Leyte, and the town we were in was Tacloban. But then we also were up in Barangan and Samar. And in 2013, Hurricane Haiyan flattened Tacloban, and the house I stayed at was destroyed there in Samar. So we kind of drove around the coast there. It was like a 4-hour drive from Tacloban up the coast along the Pacific there to Barangan. Anyway, so when I heard that there was another super typhoon right before Christmas, it caught my attention, and it took me a little bit. It really didn't hit our news here hardly at all. I'm sure there in Australia and New Zealand you heard a lot more about it than we did, but they were saying 150 mile per hour winds. So they called it Typhoon Rai. The interesting thing is the Filipinos call it their own name. So it's the world, let me see here if I have it. The World Meteorological, can't even pronounce it, organization names them. So they named it Typhoon Rai. And then the Philippine Atmospheric Geophysical and Astronomical Services names their own hurricanes or typhoons that are going to hit them specifically. So they have named it Odette. So that's why you kind of hear Rai and Odette at the same time. So Typhoon Rai crossed the southern and central Philippines on December 16th, having intensified to Category 5 strength just hours before landfall. Locally named Odette, the storm was one of the strongest recorded on Earth this year and the 6th to reach Category 5. This natural colored image above, I don't know if you have that up, Pi. I'm not watching. Oh, you're on top of it. Look at that. Okay, now I got to go back to my article. Was acquired in the early afternoon of December 16th by the Visible Infrared Imaging Radiometer Suite, or VIIRS, on the Swami MPP satellite. Around the time of this image, the storm had sustained 240 kilometers per hour, or 150 miles per hour, a Category 4 super typhoon. News and weather reports indicated that the storm first came ashore in Siargao, a popular island for tourism, with sustained winds of 195 kilometers per hour, 120 miles per hour, before crossing over several other islands. About 100,000 people evacuated their homes from before Rai arrived. An estimated 30 million people live in the central and southern islands of the Philippines. The second image acquired is in the late morning on December 17th by the Moderate Resolution Imagery Spectroradiometer, the MODIS, on NASA's Terra satellite, shows the storm on the western side of the Philippines as it started to track northwest. Sustained winds were still whipping at 180 kilometers or 110 miles per hour. Forecasters from the U.S. Joint Typhoon Warning Center predicted that the storm would head towards Vietnam and southern China in the upcoming names. Rai, or Philippine known Odette, is the 15th typhoon to pass through or close to the Philippines this year. The archipelago, typically, however you pronounce that, sees more landfalling storms annually than any other place on Earth. Now, the Philippines alone is like, at least when I was there visiting in, I might have said 2013 before, it actually was 2005 that I was there. They say it's the most natural disaster prone country in the world.
Ugh.
And part of that is because they're out of the middle of the ocean. The other part is they're along one of the deepest trenches in the ocean called the Filipino Deep, which can cause some massive earthquakes. So yeah, they have mudslides and big rainstorms, and so anyway, it's kind of sad because a lot of the infrastructure there is just not built as well as what we're used to seeing. Like, people live in little nipa huts, and a lot of people. When I was there, there was a little, there was a hurricane out in the ocean, and we started hearing rumors about it while we were there. And I started asking around because, I was still interested in weather back then as a young college student, and I was like, what do you do? Where do you go if there's a hurricane? And I was asking the locals there, and they said, what do you mean? And I said, no, don't you have to fly off the island? They're like, the Philippines are only islands. What do you mean? I was like, where do you go? How do you protect yourself? And they said, they just come. They're just storms. We just stay. And unfortunately, with Haiyan in 2013, they are saying that 2,000 people died. 2,000? Maybe 6,000? Because the people just have nowhere to evacuate to.
Man.
What?
Man, just because there's just the storm.
It's just a storm, and they have like little one-story nipa huts. I mean, they're on stilts like some of our houses near the ocean. But unfortunately, they're saying Typhoon Rai, the fatalities are up to 400 people today. So it's very sad, and it just wipes out everything in its path. But did I get through the whole article there, Pi? Or do you still have more?
Let's see. I think that's all that I had in there. Did you have more?
Okay. No, I think I had some pictures of destruction on your Facebook page, but if you didn't grab them, no big deal.
What?
So.
You did? Huh? Where?
Messenger. Some links. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Here we go. Oh, yeah, from CNN.
You're fast.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
This is why I use a desktop.
Versus what? A laptop? I don't know what you're talking
I mean, hey, I do have a leftover CPU, motherboard, RAM. I mean, it's probably a 6 or 7 year old
I'm a
PC.
Mac person. I'm in the process of fixing a Mac here.
I
know it's taking me like a year, but I'll get it working one of these days.
Yep. Anywho.
Okay, so
yes.
Here's a good link, Pi. One last thing about the typhoon. I'm gonna put it here in your chat.
But that means I have to screw up your video window.
Oh, you have a video window. Sorry, it just shows the path of where the hurricane went.
Ooh.
And they're saying 130,000 people need relief right now. 2.4 million. 2.4 million are in need of humanitarian assistance. People are still in evacuation centers, and they're starting to have sewage problems. And
so December 16th and the 17th, when was the big tornado outbreak in Kentucky?
Yeah, I think the 16th was our high wind day here in Colorado that brought down all the trees.
Yeah. So, okay. So then that would have been the derecho day. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's why I got lost. I think I was like, Pi, there's a massive hurricane in the Philippines. You're like, yeah, so we got trees down the street.
Things are semis are blowing off the road around here. But man, just when I thought it couldn't get any worse, these fires just came and started, whatnot. So.
Yeah, this is why you moved to Colorado. You just never know what tomorrow's going to bring, right?
Yep.
Pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I think that's it for the typhoons, but I can scroll through our chat real quick and see what questions I'm.
I just realized I never showed your link. Whoopsie! This was the link that she had pulled up here.
I wasn't watching.
Anywho.
Yeah, so you can see the path of the typhoon there going right through the middle. So it was just south of where Haiyan hit.
Mm-hmm. Right there.
In 2013.
Mm-hmm.
So that was that was just 9 years ago.
Yeah, nasty. So this one was funding. Man, even those fires, for us is 500 million, and then this is the fund. 8.2 million sounds like a lot until you hear a number 500 million, and so anywho, so
yeah, and And like this is 400 fatalities. I mean, our fires, unfortunately, they're suspecting up to 3 fatalities, which is still
they've confirmed
very
one so
sad.
far. Yeah.
Sad.
All right, so to answer some questions from you guys, Supercell Chaser asked way earlier on, where did you get your passion for storm chasing from? Honestly, it just kind of started as a hobby, and I wouldn't say that storm chasing is necessarily the passion. Like, my passion is to tell people stories, and that's something that I have been starting to do a better job about, and so in the next few months, I'll be posting 2 storm chasing videos where I actually got to tell some stories from people that were impacted from a tornado I just witnessed.
Yes. Several people were asking, when's your next video? When's your next video?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I just, like, literally right before the show started, I finally got my NAS back online, so I'm going to start editing that. I went from 24 terabytes to 32 terabytes, so I think that'll last me a while. I'll just have to buy a few more of these hard drives to make sure it's all backed up and I don't lose it in a fire or anything. And so... let's see.
Yeah, we're thinking about that a little more these days.
Yes.
Protecting our stuff for fires.
Mm-hmm.
You're still screen sharing Philippines, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Pi, did you get renter's insurance after?
I got a quote. We'll see if I actually do it. It's like $15 a month, but it's not for like replacement cash value. It's for actual cash value, which isn't that bad of a deal. I buy most of my stuff used anyway, so.
I highly recommend if any of you are renting it's cheap, get renter's insurance. Yeah, that one gal that unfortunately lost her dogs in the fire, sounded like she had no insurance whatsoever. So she lost everything, is living with a friend in an apartment, and had to go to the thrift store to buy tomorrow's clothes. Like, that's just sad if you have, whereas at least an insurance company could possibly cut you a check to buy your clothes with. But be well insured. You just never know.
Yeah, Rachel asks, when will your next stream be? So I'm gonna try to put more time into actually editing the main storm chasing videos. So we'll just be doing these live streams when major things in the news happen. So, and I'm still trying to think of what that'll look like during storm chasing season. Who knows? Maybe we can do something simple where I could set up OBS on Amber's laptop and I could call her from like a Walmart parking lot and we can just do some basic stuff and I could like screen share some footage I got. Maybe we'll do something like that, but we'll see. That will all be very tentative. And so anyway, there's also some videos that I would love to share with you guys that you can go watch after this live stream. This first one here was amazing. La Palma finally ended. It did end up being its largest ever, longest ever eruption, and I think also the largest one too here. So this was by Time Storm Films as well, the guy who also did the cool telescope time lapses from on La Palma. So you guys really ought to go check out this video. It is so well done. It really shows the full scope of the eruption.
I told you to stop screen sharing. Now you have to start screen sharing.
It's about time to stop. But yeah, so this is amazing. So you guys totally should check it out. And oh, and Rolly TV. Hey, Rolly. Hey, thanks for joining the chat. So when are you heading out to Storm Chase this season? Well, it could be. I mean, could be March. Could be April. It may not be until May. We'll see. And then also, you guys will probably also enjoy.
What is your biggest tornado that you have seen?
The biggest tornado? Oh, it was definitely the EF3 wedge that I saw. So, and also check out this video from Kelton. So he posted when we storm chased together after we tried looking for my drone. So you guys will definitely enjoy checking that out. And so, especially since it'll be quite a while before I get my video out too, because I'm still posting 2019 videos. Yay!
Wait, go back to the wedge. When was the wedge? Where was the wedge?
It was 2018. 2018. It was like
all
my
of
first
us should remember that. 2018.
It was my first ever like serious storm chase.
I can't remember all your tornadoes. How's everybody else supposed to remember your tornadoes?
So
it's just 2008 wedge, you know. Go. He does have it on video. The video's already posted, right?
Yeah.
You can find that video.
Yeah, that's why I'm not addressing it too much
The
here.
typical-
So, anyway, so here's Kelton's video, so that you guys should totally check out.
The typical
the
storm
links in the
chase is not
chat.
the action-packed
So-
visual masterpiece it is often portrayed as
Ooh.
in films and on TV.
Yeah.
It is often a slow, methodical experience where you may only see one or two interesting phenomena.
Yep. Okay, that's all you get. You guys got to go check it out yourself. So, he did a great job with that, and so eventually I will get to posting it. So now I'm gonna go. I just got a nice little M.2 drive that I'm gonna go install in my NAS that will speed things up because it took like 3 days to copy all my stuff to it. So there's that. Anyway, I need to call it a night. We've been streaming for like an hour and a half. What?
One more question.
What?
What advice would you give to a beginner chaser by Outdoor Avenger?
Oh.
What do you do? What do you not do?
Yes, check
I know
out
it's a longer
Skip
question.
Talbot's channel, Skip Talbot. It was because of him that, like, when we went on our first chase, it was, we had no idea what we were doing, and we were fighting about where we needed to chase, and then shortly after I started watching this guy's stuff. So, check out his storm spotting secrets video, and I think practical tips or field tactics for practical storm spotting. And then, yeah, check out all of his lectures. They are so informative. They will teach you way more about storm chasing than, like, say, even a storm spotting class will. These I learned a ton from, and so... he emphasizes safety. That's the biggest thing. If you watch those videos and you follow his tips, you'll start seeing tornadoes. That's what happened for me as well. So, but yeah. Anyway, so I think I'm gonna go sign off for the night. And I was gonna go swimming tonight, but the gym closes in 50 minutes. I guess if I ran, but...
Hot tub? We could go sit in the hot tub. Well, thanks you all for your questions. I know we didn't get to them all, but maybe we can write some of them down and bring them next week. So keep them coming because we love to hear from you guys. So
Yep. All
time
right.
for the pool. Time for the pool. Time for the pool.
Stupid gym. It's not 24-hour fitness. It's more like
I
18-hour
know.
fitness.
It used to be.
So dumb.
They closed down. It's
All right. Where's my live stream link? Where is it? Okay. All right. Thanks for watching, guys. See ya.
Appreciate you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.